Welcome back, Perp Squad. Yeah,
Welcome.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Katie.
You are.
And welcome to the episode that almost wasn't.
That is right.
We jinxed ourselves by
We did.
dropping an extra episode last week.
Mm-hmm.
And this episode has been a struggle to record. We have a teething baby,
Well, I don't know if it's teething or he's
a little
kind
bit of
of,
both.
like he's sick. He's got some sort of
He's got a little
cold
cold. We
because
have
we
little
have
colds.
him. Yeah.
So we might be a little nasally. So bear with us.
Yeah, but before we name our perp and get into it, now we had talked about this before, right? Off the air. I wanted to bring something to each episode, something
Right. You want to
new and
bring
different.
a fun fact.
Well, not so much fun for many people, but just something interesting, something different.
That's true. An interesting tidbit.
Right. So this one here is, I'm going to go ahead and read a Reddit post from a Reddit user. Not going to provide their username, nothing like that.
So you jumped down the Reddit rabbit hole.
I did. And I have been. And I found this really striking and odd, different, unusual. Like, it's something I think we all go through at some point in our lives.
Okay.
In some sort of form. In some form, some fashion. So, all right. So let me kick off their post.
Yeah.
It says, I live too much in my imagination that it freaks me out. I have an issue with maladaptive daydreaming. So we're going to talk about maladaptive daydreaming. This user goes on to say, I'm starting to think it's an actual illness because of how much I do it. I imagine people from my past, my crushes, and future things that I want.
That's just anxiety.
I act everything out, the amount of gold medals, the Oscars, and the other awards that I've won is insane. So this person is acting out like,
you don't have their Reddit handle.
I don't because I just would have went deeper.
Like Meryl Streep. Just
also the Reddit user says the amount of interviews I've been in, and they say it's not a manifestation to me anymore. It's an actual problem. It's like my brain can't be in reality. It's so messed up, especially with how much I talk to myself and people think that I'm with someone. So they're acting this out in
like broad daylight. But it's also like 2024, and I always think people are talking to themselves, but really they just have Bluetooth.
Right, yeah. But I mean, they're talking about movies, awards that they're winning.
Right.
Things
they're
like that.
Practicing their acceptance speech.
Exactly. Like Grammys and Academy Awards. So I did a little bit of a deep dive, nothing too crazy because I didn't want to go on forever with it. So maladaptive daydreaming, it's also called excessive daydreaming, is when an individual experiences excessive daydreaming that interferes with their daily life. So it is some sort of illness or social issue, whatever the case may be, however they want to define it. So just a little bit more, maladaptive daydreaming often presents with features that overlap with other mental health conditions, making it a complex phenomenon to recognize and treat. For instance, the repetitive behaviors involved can resemble symptoms of obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD. So I thought that was a little different.
That is interesting. I wonder what the line is between
just daydreaming and then maladaptive.
Well, the maladaptive and like psychosis, like when you're completely enthralled in another, like
clinically
life. Yeah, I am curious about that
because we all daydream. I mean, who hasn't?
For sure. And like, especially if you are stressed about something or you have anxiety.
Yeah.
Like I visualize like the worst possible scenarios.
Yeah.
All
a lot
time.
of us. Yeah. I mean, we both do in the moment situations.
Yeah.
But how many times have you driven a car and just daydream and like, holy shit, I'm already here type scenario?
Yeah. Like highway hypnosis.
Yeah.
That's what they call it.
Well,
yeah.
You got there.
Right. So
no matter what you want to call it. I mean, but if you're
part
just
of
sitting
the
there and you have time on your hands, you're going to daydream. It's just a part of life. But I didn't know it was that severe that they had an actual clinical whatever for it.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah, why not? So let's go ahead and jump into our perp.
Yes, let's
all right,
name that perp.
Perp squad, let's do it. All right, so today we're diving into the complicated and heartbreaking legal troubles of one of music's greatest icons.
That's right. Our perp's life was filled with a great deal of highs, iconic, and a global superstar with a voice like no other.
Mm-hmm.
But also faced a lot of struggles, both personal and legal. This episode, we are going to break down those legal troubles that haunted our star and how it had affected their career and legacy they left behind.
Yes, our perp is definitely a legend. Absolute legend.
Right.
I don't know how many times I can say it. But unfortunately, exactly, iconic, legend. But unfortunately, their personal life often became the headline. It all started in the early 1990s, around the time they got married. I think right there, many people, many listeners are going to be like, oh, no shit. Okay.
Depends on your generation.
Yeah, I guess. Their relationship was both intensely public and deeply troubled. I mean, our perp, who had been at the top of the world, seemed to unravel after they got married.
Yes, who doesn't? And it wasn't just the tabloids that were following them. Our perp's legal issues began to stack up around this time. We know their spouse was dealing with their own issues with drugs and alcohol, but our perp struggles were also starting to show. One of the first public legal incidents was a 1993 lawsuit filed by their former bodyguard, who accused our perp of assault.
Right. And that lawsuit came after an altercation that allegedly happened in the star's home. The case was dismissed, but it definitely added fuel to the fire. The legal battles just kept coming, especially when it came to their personal life and their marriage. Our perp and spouse's relationship was full of drama, and their troubles were often amplified in the media.
Definitely. Then by the early 2000s, our perp was facing legal issues that tied directly to their substance abuse. There was an infamous 2000 airport incident where both our perp and spouse were arrested after being questioned by authorities. They were caught in a drug-related incident, and it became clear that both of them were struggling with addiction.
So not only one was holding, they were both holding.
They were both holding.
Oh my God. So by 2006, our perp's legal problems were becoming more serious, if that wasn't serious enough.
Right.
They were arrested for driving under the influence. Our perp was seen in public looking disheveled and erratic. Disheveled. Okay, I'm so
You can tell
sorry.
I'm the writer.
Absolutely. Like, not only do you have to, throw in these big ass words. I have a lisp, and it looks a little different to me. So anyway, so disheveled and erratic, and it wasn't just their career that was suffering. The legal consequences started to catch up with them as well.
One of the most infamous that was karma. One of the most infamous moments came in 2002 during an interview with another legend, Diane Sawyer.
Yeah, legend. Okay.
Our perp's defense of their drug use, quote, crack is whack, became a media frenzy, a meme before memes were a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this was everywhere. I mean, even now, these reels are still coming up on TikTok and Facebook, Instagram. And there's so many quotes from this interview. So the period highlighted how deeply addiction had taken hold of her life.
Now, didn't something happen with our perp and Diane Sawyer.
During the interview,
Yeah.
she wanted to fight her
She wanted to fight her.
because Diane Sawyer, I mean, she's a journalist. She
Yeah.
wanted to know what are you, she kept asking, are you on drugs? Like, what are you, like, is it true that you do crack? And
Like, who the hell's gonna
she's
say
like,
yes?
crack
Yes, I
is
do.
whack. She's like, I am rich. I am too rich for that.
Now, if a lot of our listeners don't know by now, with that mention,
They may know.
they may not. So, in 2006, our Perpin spouse divorced after 14 years of marriage. I think 14 years too long.
Definitely.
Many hope this marked the beginning of a fresh start. Our Perp entered rehab several times and attempted to reclaim their career. In 2009, they released their first studio album in 7 years. It debuted at number 1.
That's pretty incredible to not
Hell
release
yeah.
anything for 7 years
Right?
and debut at number 1.
That's how you know you're a legend, you're an icon in the music
Jesus.
industry.
Sorry.
Showing the world that they still had their fans. However, our Perp's live performances revealed a voice that had been ravaged by years of substance abuse. Critics, of course, were harsh. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what they get paid to do. And our Perp struggled to recapture their former glory. So, like you said, after all that time, goes to number 1.
Right.
But because of what they had gone through and not
Their
getting the
live
help they need,
performances were
it's just a
not
big struggle.
living up to
Yeah,
the
because
hype.
auto-tune wasn't the way it was back then, the
Yeah.
way it is now.
But when you can be in the studio and you can re-record and
Right, it's a
use
lot
what
different.
works and edit, and I mean, even without auto-tune, but when you're on stage doing it live,
Mhm.
you don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
So that's not all.
I
Our
know.
perp's daughter became the center of a bitter dispute between her parents.
Hmm.
There were accusations of neglect, and social services had to get involved. Our perp, already battling their personal demons, faced even more scrutiny.
Yes, and all of this was happening as our Perp's career was also taking a nosedive. So they're getting hit from every which way.
Right. But
Career, personal, and a lot of it they put
they
on
brought on
themselves. And it's so unfortunate. They really did.
a victim of their own
Yeah.
circumstances.
The legal troubles were becoming impossible to ignore. And of course, that led to their final tragic years. Because in 2012, our Perp's death shocked the world. They were found in a hotel room just hours before the Grammy Awards, and the cause of death was ruled as an accidental drowning, with heart disease and cocaine use listed as contributing factors.
Right. And it was the
What a
day
shitty way to go, though, too.
awful
It's like
way
that
to
Matthew
go.
Perry, you know.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah. It was,
fuck.
I mean, I guess technically hours before the Grammy Awards, but it was the day before.
So yeah, okay. I mean, still, it's
But
before,
technically
yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
It was a heartbreaking end to such a promising, incredible career. But the legal problems didn't stop there. After their death, their estate became entangled in lawsuits with disputes over royalties, music rights, and their child's inheritance. Our perp's legal issues were truly ongoing even after their passing.
Because it's really sad, because while their legal troubles definitely tarnish their image in some eyes out there, it doesn't erase the incredible talent our Perp had. Their legacy is filled with monumental music moments, but unfortunately, it also marked by the pain and struggles they faced in their personal lives.
That's a great point. Their voice will live on forever, but her life reminds us of the real pressures that come with fame and addiction. Their legal battles were just a symptom of a larger personal challenge, and sadly, they overshadowed the bright moments of her career.
So we gave you a little bit of more of hints because we said her.
I know I was trying not
No, it's
to,
okay.
but
You know,
we slipped.
it's fine. So I mean, it's just, I mean, if you don't know already, you know, it is
Drum roll.
exactly. So it is the iconic, the legendary Miss Whitney Houston. Her journey wasn't just about music, it was about the immense human struggles she also faced.
Right.
So, look, I want you to go ahead and start, but let's take a look. Let's take a look at Whitney from the top.
Yeah, so let's start with Whitney Elizabeth Houston was born on August 9th, 1963 in Newark, New Jersey. She grew up in a musical family, her mother, Sissy Houston, being a gospel singer, and her cousin, the legend herself, Dionne Warwick. From a young age, Whitney's exceptional vocal talent was evident. She first appeared on the music scene as a backup singer in the early 80s, but her true breakthrough came when Clive Davis of Arista Records discovered her.
Arista, tomato.
That's right.
When I was reading this and I saw that it was Dionne Warwick, I'm like, oh my God, she's still performing.
She is.
Hotels, casinos, she's still out there doing her thing.
And Whitney's mother has an incredible voice just like her.
I've never heard, I never listened to her mom.
They sing like gospel together, and it's like two Whitneys singing.
Oh, no
it's
shit.
Really
so
beautiful.
Really that good.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah.
Wow. In 1985, Whitney released her self-titled debut album, which became an instant success. Of course it had. Producing hits like The Greatest Love of All and How Will I Know. She became the first woman in history to debut at #1 on the Billboard 200 album chart. Her star power continued to grow with the release of Whitney in 1987, featuring hits like I Want to Dance with Somebody Who Loves Me. Like, you want to belt it out?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I can't sing.
She solidified herself as a global pop sensation, setting new standards for her vocal excellence, and nobody can top Whitney Houston. There's some out there that have some similarities, but nobody can hit it like Whitney. You can try and replicate, but you can't.
No.
So her acting career also took off with her role in the 1992 blockbuster The Bodyguard, which made her an international household name. The film soundtrack, which included the iconic ballad I Will Always Love You, became one of the best-selling soundtracks of all time. This movie, The Bodyguard, you've never fucking seen it.
But
Kevin Costner, like he's running. He's running.
I've seen
to her and
I've seen the clip, but I've never seen the movie. But it is on my list. But I Will Always Love You was originally recorded by Dolly Parton. And it wasn't necessarily like a love song, so to speak. She didn't write it for her husband. She wrote it for her former manager. We've gotten this far, and I love you, but I gotta go.
Okay.
I love Dolly.
You sure do, because I had no clue.
I do. But back to Whitney. Yes. So while her career was skyrocketing, her personal life was starting to unravel. In 1992, she married Bobby Brown, a singer known for his own troubled past. Their tumultuous relationship was often in the headlines, with Brown's issues with drugs and alcohol spilling into their marriage. Whitney's own struggles with addiction began to take hold in the late 80s and early 90s. By the mid-2000s, her personal and professional life had become a public spectacle. I mean, I remember seeing the tabloids in the grocery line. Her weight fluctuated, her voice began to deteriorate, and she became erratic in her public appearances. Despite these challenges, she continued to release music, though her albums no longer received the same level of commercial success they once had.
So just to give some background on Bobby Brown, on what he's done, he was born in Boston, Massachusetts. He is a singer, songwriter, rapper, dancer. Years active, they say 1978 to present. The television show that we were thinking about, Being Bobby Brown,
Oh, yes, their reality show. His
Yeah,
reality
his
show.
reality show. He has 7 kids, including Bobby Christina. Spouses include Whitney and then Alicia Etheridge. I guess that was 2012. And he was a member of New Edition.
Oh, okay.
New Edition. How did we not like get that off the top?
I don't know.
And Heads of State was another one.
Yeah, but their child, Bobby Christina, she unfortunately passed away
Yes.
3 years after Whitney. She had also had a drug problem. I think that it was ultimately ruled that she had pneumonia, but like Whitney, she was found in the bathtub with drugs in her system.
I mean, Jesus Christ.
We could speculate.
We're going to speculate.
All night
let's
long.
do it. No, let's go ahead and speculate really quick.
No, this is just
speculation, entertainment.
Spitballing.
Yeah,
entertainment
theory
purposes only.
So, Whitney is found in the bathtub. She drowned.
Yes.
Their daughter. Pretty much the same fucking way.
Yeah, but I think it's odd that her cause of death was ruled pneumonia.
Because you can't have self-harm / suicide and collect the insurance money.
True.
Let's not like think that Bobby Brown didn't have his hands in that and say, hey, Mr. So-and-so, can you sign this death certificate this way so I can make sure I get paid?
You think he had the same connect with P. Diddy? Allegedly.
Allegedly. I mean, the dude's been in the game since he was 12 years old. That's when New Edition was found.
That's wild.
When he was 12 years old in 1981.
Candy Girl.
Isn't that some shit?
That's nuts.
Candy Girl, Cool It Now, Mr. Telephone Man.
Wild.
It is wild.
Absolutely.
So let me jump back to Whitney.
Yeah.
So as Whitney's personal struggles worsened, legal issues began to pile up. One of the most notable incidents occurred in 1993 when she was sued by a former bodyguard for assault.
Which we mentioned.
We did mention, some of these things, but we just wanted to give the full rundown. Though the case was dismissed, it added to the growing list of controversies surrounding the singer. In 2000, the Whitney and Bobby incident where they were, publicized with that drug incident,
at the airport.
The DUI in 2006. I mean, these things just continue to pile up, and they just put so much pressure on her career and anything personal, anything to do with Whitney, professionally and personally. There was so much damage, and she just couldn't get out of it.
Right. And when you're that big and you're under such a microscope, even if you do get clean, you're still going to be under that microscope.
And you're still going to have the haters and the doubters and all that shit.
I mean, we know that, especially this time period, like 90s, early 2000s, tabloids were ruthless. Especially in the US. Like, they really weren't held accountable. They could publish anything.
Because there wasn't internet, so how many fucking people were out in the supermarkets in line getting those magazines? You know what I mean?
Right. You would just read the headlines.
But yeah, they're still there.
Open the catalog of the magazine most of the time.
I mean, we didn't have the information that we do back then. You can get it.
We didn't have a computer in our pocket.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Whitney's legal and personal troubles were compounded in 2009 when she was involved in a custody dispute over her daughter, Bobby Christina. There were claims of neglect, and social services were involved in the family's affairs. Whitney's legal issues and personal battles, especially with addiction, continue to overshadow her career. In 2012, she made appearances, but her performances were widely criticized, and fans began to fear the worst for the singer.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, it was February 11, 2012, where she was found dead in the hotel room at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. And it was just hours before the Grammy, but what was it, a day before? Like we mentioned, it was an accidental death. Whatever. We can speculate, of course. We can do that constantly. Is that Bobby Christina right there?
I was bringing up Bobby Christina because I knew she passed away 3 years
looks just like
later.
Her father. It's the teeth too, because he has that gap And Bobby Christina had the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, there's just so much to, you can point fingers to at Bobby Brown. Like, he ruined her and her career,
Right.
but I mean, it takes two, I guess. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know. It's
mean,
just so hard because she was such an icon. She is such an
and
icon.
she made her own choices, but yeah, it is really hard and sad, and you don't know, we see documentaries now where like Judy Garland was
Yeah,
put on like speed during the day
right.
basically, and then like downers at night, and then to counteract she'd be given more speed, like, so and then like it's a wonder like why she had an addiction. Well, you were giving her speed at 14 or
Yeah,
however old, like,
absolutely insane.
yeah, so it's hard to see like when did this all start? Why did
Yeah,
this all start?
because with with Judy Garland, to Whitney Houston, when it comes to being a superstar, having talent, if you didn't do and say what the guidance told you to do, they would just
There you go.
they would
You're
drop you.
yeah,
You're
you're
done.
off the label. Like
So
look
there
at
was so
Britney
much pressure.
Spears. Like
Yeah.
she was
Oh yeah.
given so much Adderall
Yeah.
that she just
It's
couldn't
too much
function
pressure.
without it.
Way too much pressure. And hopefully
Yeah.
it's changing. Because we talked about the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
Everything that's coming out with the allegations on Diddy. It seems like hopefully that the industry is
Hopefully there'll be
collapsing
a
on itself,
shift.
and there's going to be more of a healthy shift.
I hope
You know what I mean?
so.
So that's what you can hope for.
I
But I wanted
hope
to
so.
mention a couple of things about Whitney that you may not have known.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of fans, they do know these things, but I wanted to bring them up. You know that she was a model before music?
I didn't. I know she was a background singer.
Yeah, so before her music career took off, Whitney was a successful teen model. She was one of the first African American women to appear on the cover of 17 magazine in 1981. Did you know that? That is great.
I did not. That's
amazing.
awesome.
Her acting talent, when Whitney's acting debut in The Bodyguard '92, it showcased her versatility. The soundtrack featuring I Will Always Love You became the best-selling soundtrack of all time, selling over 45 million copies worldwide.
That's nuts.
Now, did you know that she performed in the Super Bowl? The halftime?
No.
Super Bowl halftime performance. The rendition of the Star Spangled Banner at the Super Bowl is considered one of the greatest performances in history.
You know what I did? I was
thinking
like halftime show.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Like,
I'm sorry.
I don't recall this, but yes, I have heard her sing the anthem.
Yeah, her version, they say, was so well received that it was released as a single and became a chart-topping hit. So that performance of the Star Spangled Banner went on.
That's how iconic she is and why she's a legend. So drug use aside, scandals aside, she's so talented.
Yeah.
And beautiful.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Flawless.
I Will Always Love You almost didn't happen. Kevin Costner, her co-star in The Bodyguard, suggested Whitney cover the Dolly Parton I Will Always Love You instead of the originally planned song. The a cappella intro was Whitney's idea, and it became the defining moment of the song.
Wow. So Kevin Costner didn't want her to do the song?
Well, I took down, it said it almost didn't happen. Kevin Costner, her co-star in The Bodyguard, suggested Whitney covers Dolly Parton's.
Oh, okay.
Instead of the originally planned song.
Oh, I've got it. I got it. Sorry.
Yeah. Missed opportunities for Whitney as well. She was offered movie roles like The Princess Diaries.
What?
In Dreamgirls.
Who would she have played in The Princess Diaries?
I don't know. She was originally supposed to star in them in the 1990s, but these never materialized due to the timing of her personal issues.
Could she have been Julie Andrews instead of Julie Andrews?
That would have broke the barrier. Seriously, you know what I mean?
Well, she was like the fairy godmother in Cinderella, and that was groundbreaking with Brandy.
Oh my God,
Alexander was in it. Yeah.
Jason Alexander, George Costanza.
It was a colorblind cast. Okay. So they had all walks of life, which was, I mean, that's one of my favorite versions of Cinderella.
And just to piggyback off the record breaking debuts, the 1985 self-titled album became the best-selling debut album by a female artist at the time, and it was by a female,
Right.
so of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just incredible. We may have mentioned it, but it's just absolutely incredible. So last thing about Whitney, they continue to have, well, they don't continue, but they have whomever. Whitney recorded songs that remain unreleased.
Oh,
There's still
like the
music
Michael
out there.
Jackson vault?
Right. So there's still music out there
Oh.
that she had recorded. Fans continue to hope for a release of her hidden tracks, giving insight to her artistry beyond her well-known hits. Imagine
Oh.
that, like Whitney, them releasing some Whitney music.
I would love to hear them. I
Just,
feel like
yeah.
because her estate was in such turmoil, I don't know if I'll ever get them. Like maybe years from now, like if her estate is ever passed down
Yeah, I don't know who
or
handles it now.
yeah.
I don't
I
know
mean
if
I
it's
would
the Bobby
assume
Brown.
Bobby.
Yeah.
I would assume
I mean,
Bobby.
if he
But
were, if he is,
no,
what?
they're divorced.
Right.
But unless his
Unless it was
daughter
the,
inherited it and
and
then
then
she passed
she passed
away.
and he took it. See, another theory,
Oh
another
my
crazy
gosh.
thing. Yeah. But why
Where
wouldn't you want to release it? The release songs if he's into, he wants
right.
to make more money. But I would just love for today's generation, the younger kids, like somebody like my daughter, Maddie, our daughter, like
Mm-hmm.
the younger kids to experience Whitney Houston. Not just, oh, hey, look this person up. No, like
Right.
new music out.
Like I think that like they would know her songs, but they wouldn't like necessarily know that's Whitney Houston. Like I'm sure they know the
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, her personal life is a testament to both the heights of success and the dangers of personal demons. While the world will always remember Whitney Houston as one of the greatest singers to ever live, her life also serves as a cautionary tale about fame, addiction, and the pressures of being in the public eye.
That was a great name, that perp.
That was a good one. I
It's
enjoyed it.
unfortunate that we have to call them perp sometimes because
Right, because I don't think of Whitney Houston as like a
right,
perp. I think
right.
of
It's
her
just the name
as
of our show, so we have to go with it.
right, like she's an icon
Yeah.
and she had a drug problem.
Yeah.
And because of that, it made her do perpish things.
Perpish things. So before we end the episode,
We have
we have a couple of things that I want you to read out.
yes, we
that
have
we
some
that were sent in.
emails.
Yeah. Some fan
Yes.
mail.
Yes, fan mail. We asked you to send your perp stories and or deathbed confessions,
Ooh.
and we are going to read 2 of them today.
Oh
Oh,
my goodness.
sorry, I just dropped my phone. Do you want to start with the first one?
No, you go for it. I want you to.
All right, I'll read them.
Yes.
All right. Dear Perp Squad, this one is a short one, and unfortunately, I don't have the details on it. I was around 11 years old, living in Brockton, Massachusetts, US. I remember it was soon after 9/11 because I was having a lot of fear and anxiety around another terrorist attack. How real.
Mm-mm.
I heard sirens and looked out my bedroom window as a car slid to a stop outside an old auto body shop across from my house. A man in a ski mask tumbled out, ducking behind the car as 3 police cars got to the scene. The policemen attempted to surround the perp. There were a few shots fired, but the criminal was able to evade them and darted away into a small wooded area. I have no idea what the person did or if they were ever caught, but I remember being so terrified that somehow he had noticed me watching, though I was probably about a football field away. and would return to the neighborhood to do myself or my family harm. Love the pod. XOXO. The Looky Loo.
So let's capture the scene for a second. It
You're
is
11 years
You're
old.
11 years old. It's 9/11. You hear anything
Right after 9/11.
like sirens.
You are
You see
looking out
lights.
the window or
You think-
hiding.
And it's not that far. Massachusetts, New York, it wasn't like it was far away.
I mean, the planes left out of Logan.
Exactly. Like, you don't fucking know. That's
Right.
some scary
It was
shit.
very close to home. Like,
And
we knew people, like, I mean, not me personally, but like people at my school, like, knew people on the planes.
ugh,
Like,
terrible.
I think my brother went to school with like one of the girls that her dad was a pilot. Like, it was so close to home, and there were all these
Yeah.
personal stories coming out. And like, this is before like we had like big social media. Like,
Yeah,
we
it
were
was
still
2001,
using
yeah.
AIM at that
Yeah.
point. So
We were still paying for our text messages.
right, yes, those 10 cents is text.
$2.99 a month from Verizon. I remember that commercial.
We weren't a
I think it
Verizon
was like
family.
100 texts for $2.99 a month or some shit like that. Yeah, it was insane.
Those were the days.
That's scary shit.
Yeah.
Like,
But to be 11 years old and see like
This
some
perp-
shit go down.
no, but also this this individual is fucking staring at you. You don't know. You're a child.
or so you think.
But in my mind, I'd be thinking the same shit.
Yeah, I would too.
Absolutely. No fault on that. I'd be thinking the same shit. They're coming back for me.
Terrifying. Well, you also have trauma.
Yeah, but I didn't want to go back into that store ever again either. But I
and you
did.
lived above
I lived
it.
on top of it. Yeah.
Terrifying.
Imagine going back into that store and just like
No, thank
you
you.
hear the fucking ding on the door.
I couldn't
opening.
even drive by it.
Well,
I have like trauma
my
from
school
like
bus stop was outside my door. Was outside the convenience store, so I
No.
had to.
No. And if you
Yeah.
want to know what we're talking about, go back and listen to episode 1.
Yeah.
But I have trauma in like a town, and I'm like never going back to that town. Like, it could have
Yeah.
happened in one place in the town. I'm never going there again. We do have one more to read today. So this is Perp Deathbed Confession adjacent.
Mhm.
No opening. I went to a wake for my supermarket manager's dad.
Okay.
Well, apparently, the 8 kids he had with his wife wasn't enough. He had a secret son for decades, and none of his family ever suspected anything. The secret son showed up to the wake, and no one had any clue. Hey, so yes, he looked like the dad, who I never met until the casket. It was a bunch of kids that worked at Stop and Shop that went to the wake because it was our grocery manager's dad that died. And the son that showed up came alone and introduced himself in the line where you shake hands like, "Hi, this is my father. We've never met." XO, day 1 listener. P.S. Did Bryan end the episode with "stay away from curbs"? I have a lengthy history with curbs.
Well, to give some feedback, I probably did.
No, you did not. You said
Well,
stay away from perps.
Right, but I mean, it could sound like curbs.
And if you're driving, you should stay away from curbs.
Oh yeah, walking too. Like, look at what you're doing.
Right.
Stepping onto or off of a curb.
I sprained my ankle once
Yeah.
stepping off a curb.
Yeah.
Mind your business.
Well,
But if you imagine being one of 8 and being at your dad's wake, and someone walks in looking like a younger version of your dad and
Yeah.
says, "Hey, I'm your long lost brother."
Oh my God.
Would you not shit a brick? And he just joins in the line like, "Hi, that's my dad. Never met him."
So
Hi,
I wonder if
I'm Fred.
his mom said, "Hey, your dad died. I want you to go stand in that line, but don't tell anybody."
Well, I mean, he's
What-
in the
what-
line telling people like, "That's my dad."
And nobody knows who the fuck he is.
No one knew.
Somebody had to have known who he was.
For him to get in the line. Well,
To get in the line
he
and
looked,
to know that he died. I
well,
mean,
he
somebody
looked
had
like
to have
the
known
dad.
something.
Well, I'm thinking like the dad, like it wasn't just like a one night stand, never talk to you again. Like maybe it was like, I have a second family that no one knows about. So like I go home, I leave my wife and 8 kids at night and go
Mhm.
over to my other wife's house with my child and live it up there and then go home like nothing happened.
So you're just living a double life.
Yeah.
All right. But, jeez.
I mean, there's a million scenarios
Of
of
course
like
there is,
what
yeah.
it could be, but
Maybe we can get some more feedback.
to be a sibling.
Yeah. Like, this dude is coming in, he's going to take a piece.
Like when you have 7 other siblings, like what's one more?
Yeah.
What's one
Yeah.
more?
It equals it out, right?
Yeah.
By twos, it equals out the math wise.
Right.
You don't have like an odd number anymore.
True.
So,
Well, no, they had 8 kids. So they
there was
had an
there was
even
9?
number. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Like he makes
you said
9.
7. You said 7.
No, I'm saying my 7 siblings.
Oh, okay.
So I'm one of 8.
Yeah.
I have 7
yeah.
other siblings.
Yeah, that makes sense. My bad.
So,
But we want to go ahead and a big shout out before we end the episode to the individuals that are listening all over the globe. No joke, all over the globe.
it's incredible.
Bolivia, Spain, Germany.
Huge following
Germany
in Germany.
is like blowing up. Of course, the U.S., our home base.
Yes.
Um,
And I know that we're
UK.
not going to name everywhere, but
No,
thank
but-
you all everywhere for listening. Please like,
It's
subscribe, share our podcast. That is how we grow. Until next time, stay
Thank you
curious,
for following.
stay safe, and
stay away from perps and curbs because either way, you may get hurt from curbs or perps. Until next time, I'm Bryan.
I'm Katie.